Sustainability from disclosure to finance. From IFRS, we have a member of the International Sustainability Standards Board, Mr. Hiroshi Komori, to speak. So could we have a round of applause for the speaker, please? Thank you very much for the kind introduction. My name is Hiroshi Komori, member of the International Sustainability Standards Board. I would like to first mention the following. The discussion today is on sustainable finance. It's dedicated to sustainable finance, and that's my understanding. So the title is Sustainability Disclosure to Finance. And that's the title. However, ISSB mission and S1 and S2, which we have crafted, it does not touch upon finance directly. So if we could have your understanding on this. However, going forward, including Japan, the world's countries will be basing themselves on S1, S2 for legal disclosure. And there will be further developments toward this. Legal disclosure timing is gradually becoming visible for the respective countries. So after the legal disclosure, there will be a large spillover effect in many themes. And one of this is sustainable finance. And I'm very cognizant of this. So my explanation is includes expectations for the future. And I'd like to have your understanding on this. For example, S2, there's the scope for 1, 2, and 3 disclosure, which is asked for. But realistically speaking, as you know, scope 3 and the calculation of scope 3 and the method of calculation and the decision with regard to units and the final method is such that they are still undecided. And so it's not properly and firmly established yet. And so after legalization, the companies, I believe, will generate more data. There'll be an increased volume of data, and there'll be an improvement of quality, and accuracy will improve. I think when we begin to see that, the disclosure quality of companies would rise. And as a result, finance will be able to enjoy the merits of this. And the investors who provide the finance and financial institutions, these people, for investment and loan decisions, they will be able to collect data which is effective from making such decisions. And so there's a virtuous cycle which we hope to create through S1 and S2. And these are the intentions behind S1 and S2. And I would like to have your understanding on these points once again today. And so last year in June, S1 and S2 has been announced, and at the present point in time, in what way countries are discussing this after announcement? What we're aiming at is, as much as possible, we want the countries of the world to introduce legally binding S1 and S2, and substantially something in line with S1 and S2 in terms of disclosure standards. Sustainability disclosure standards is what we're looking for. And in that sense, recently, I'm saying over 20, but I believe it's close to 30 now, 30 jurisdictions. The Americas, Europe, and the Middle East, these countries, and also, above all, Asia and Oceania, including Japan, based on S1 and S2, discussions are proceeding. It's been only over a year since we announced S1 and S2, but there's a lot of momentum in different countries in terms of discussions going on. And we are surprised at the momentum that we're seeing. And I believe the enthusiasm of discussions, as we're seeing here, interest on sustainability and sense of crisis and needs for sustainability. I think what we're seeing is a result of all of this, which have manifested. And so on S1, the details I will dispense with today, but there are 3 points I wish to address. As stated in the third line, our S1 base is TCFD, and there are 4 cores which are firmly incorporated: corporate governance, that's governance, and strategy, and risk management, and indices and objectives. These must be familiar to you. These are the cores which are the basics which we've incorporated. However, TCFD and the 4 factors in TCFD, we want to add more than that. And we have included in regulations and standards more than the 4 factors in TCFD. So a higher disclosure standard is what we are calling for. And the second point is the SASB standards, as is here. Industry-specific disclosures are required based on SASB, and as to the reason as to why SASB has been selected in terms of sustainability, sectoral or a business model or a regional basis would make differences in the way the final disclosure is made. So a one-size-fits-all approach does not solve the issue. And so in a granular way, whether it's sectors or regions or business models, we want to reflect that to provide the standards for decision. And so the investors have created the SASB standards, and yearly improvements are made. In S1 and S2, with regard to SASB standards, we refer to shall be referred or shall consider is mentioned. And if you could understand the necessity of this. And thirdly, S1 and S2 ask for disclosures related to corporate cash flow and capital cost, financing and business model. To these risk and opportunities from the standpoint of risk and opportunity, a short-term, medium-term, and a long-term focus on factors that would influence finance in terms of sustainability and material sustainability challenges we want to have disclosed, and that is the design. And when it comes to financing, from the standpoint of corporates, sustainable finance would emerge realistically. And for the investors, as mentioned earlier, what would help them make investment decisions, high quality and comparable data is necessary. And that's our basic thinking. And the other is on S2. That's climate-related disclosures. And TCFD and SASB standards have been incorporated. Between X1 and X2, there is a common thread running between the two. And in S2, carbon credit, for example, carbon price, carbon footprint, and the scenario analysis, climate resilience, transition plans, etc. The words that have been discussed today is included, and we ask for disclosure with these words included. And so we are aiming for this, and the reason that we do this is, for one thing, we're asking for data disclosure, or that's the needs of the investors, rather. And the other point is that investors, of course, need data itself, but why the company set certain emission goals and how that will be leveraged in the company's businesses. And what is the prospect of achieving the target? Are there challenges to do this? Narrative information is something that we strongly call for related to sustainability. My own background was that I was formerly with GPIF, so I have an investor perspective, an investor background. But from the global investor's standpoint, Japanese companies' disclosure is such that there's a lot of data which is provided, but the narrative portion is compared to Western companies is lacking. That is what is being pointed out. So, and this would be a direct message from the management. So management, in their own words, should explain how they would use sustainability to grow their business, short-term, medium-term, and in the long term. A corporate story has to be told, and that's the objective of the S1, and that is the needs of the investors. And from here on, I'd like to talk about the relationship between S1 and S2 very briefly put. On the left-hand side, you have S2 using sustainability persons and future financial information. What would be affect that? Extracting sustainable factors which would affect that. TCFD and SASB standards would be used. On the right-hand side is step 2. From the people on the ground, there are miscellaneous 50 or 60 maybe sustainability challenges which are brought up and which have a material impact. We want companies to discuss that at board meetings, and that would be a necessary process. And perhaps what is finally disclosed is maybe 3 to 5. That's what investors generally think. But it has to be focused from the standpoint of materiality. So biodiversity and human resources, human capital. We will be working on these themes and standards. But the basic framework is that the S1 covers all sustainability disclosure and material. Through the materiality filter, there'll be a disclosure that is would be decided at the board meetings. And S2, maybe there'll be S and 3, 4, and 5, which follow this. We hope that these will be used for individual themes. That is how this is designed. So when I was at GPIF, I was talking to the investment community and related to climate change. What is the thinking? And that can be summarized into these 4 points. If you could look at this in your leisure time. And then we have scope 1, 2, and 3 summarized here, and the TCFD strategy and decision making, financial impact, the climatic impact, scope 1 to 3, GHG emissions, and resilience and the scenario analysis. These are the items, and these are the data which investors want to see. And these data, whether it's a material or not, would be decided by the S1 tool. And this would be discussed at the board meeting. And that is the thinking on which we have created this. And lastly, I'd like to convey 3 messages from us. The disclosure itself, sustainability disclosure is not easy. The investors know that. And so from the beginning, if you want to come up with something perfect, Japanese tend to hesitate. But be courageous. It may not be perfect, but you should demonstrate that you worked hard to create something, and you should present it if you could present it in that way. And secondly, disclosure is not the objective per se. After disclosure, there will be a start of communication between company and investors, and that would improve the disclosure next year, in the following year, and finally it would lead to the improved quality of management. That is what we're hoping for. And lastly, what I mentioned earlier, leveraging S1. Globally, large companies will be looking at ESRS, and they would disclose based on different themes. And I believe there'll be investor needs emerging from this. And when this happens, please do use S1 to extract material items and start communication with the investors. That is the basic image on which we have designed S1 and S2. And after this, there may be points which you're not clear on, and you may be lost as to what to do. I am based in Tokyo myself, so I would like to provide support to all of you through communication. I have been rather brief, but I'd like to conclude at this point, and I'd like to answer questions later on. If I have an opportunity on another day, I'd like to explain further. Thank you very much for this opportunity today. Thank you very much to Hiroshi Komori-san.